Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Kevin's Upfront Opinion today. So, what I thought I'd speak about today is I was watching YouTube a bit earlier, and the channel I was watching was Jubilee. Now, if you've never watched Jubilee, okay, it's normally a case of one guy in the middle, and he's taking on a load of people on the outside, basically in debate. And the one I was watching, it was really interesting, okay, which was one Democrat versus 20 MAGAs or MAGA, you know, Trump supporters at the end of the day. Okay. And I thought, oh God, this guy, he's going to have a real fun day, especially with what a lot of MAGA supporters are like. So I started watching it and must have watched it for like 20, 30 minutes before wasn't the channel's fault, but it started getting a bit boring because the problem with it is the guy that's a Democrat, he previously, I think he ran for Senate or it was one of the houses. I can't remember which one it was. Okay, and he did what most politicians do, but I cannot stand, and it irritates the hell out of me. And I've known a lot of MPs, I've known a lot of councillors over the years. I've known an awful lot of them. Okay, and what they do a lot of the time is stonewall and evade the actual question. Okay, and they only will answer what they want to answer, which pushes forward their narrative. And this is what this guy did. Okay, and part of it, they were talking about migration. Okay, and by specifically talking about ICE. Now, on one of my channels to do the newspaper I run, I get a lot of emails. I've already had two this evening from U.S. Department of Homeland Security, which is to do with ICE, and he specifically said that according to the Department of Homeland Security, only 5% of the people that they arrest, okay, to deport, okay, have committed violent crimes, and only the people that have committed violent crimes should be deported because the rest aren't really criminals. Now, to me, that's a bit backwards. Okay, because no matter what country, it doesn't matter this show was specifically about America, because it's relevant in a lot of countries around the world, especially over here in Europe and in the UK. Because if you're undocumented and you're illegal, if you come into the country illegally, you've broken the law. No matter what way you want to look at it, and you can look at it in countless different ways, and it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, if you go into a country and you're not providing a passport, okay, and arguably you're not providing a visa, okay, to say that you can come to that country, which is the case in a lot of times, you've broken the law. Okay, and laws aren't there where they basically, um, you know, the laws aren't there for some people and not others. That's not the way the world works. So when you've got these Democrats putting up these views of saying, well, it doesn't really matter, let these people just keep on coming in. They've only come in illegally. They may not have actually broken a major crime, but does that actually matter? It's not one rule for one, another rule for everybody else. And this is the same thing is here in the UK. Because the reality is, and this is what a lot of people don't grasp the concept in the UK. Okay, let's say, for instance, you get on a small boat in Calais. You cross the channel, you land on UK, on a UK beach. Automatically, you have broken the law. You've entered the country illegally. Okay, you may have a passport, you may not. Okay, you probably haven't got a visa or anything to say that you can actually come. So from that point of view, you've broken the law. Now the problem with UK law and European law is, as soon as they scream, I want to apply for asylum, it all changes. So in that split second, it changes from you've broken the law to now you haven't broken the law because you have to be put through the system. Okay, so you may only be on the beach for 5 seconds. So you've broken the law for 5 seconds, and then you say you want to apply for asylum, and now no longer you're breaking the law because we've got to put you through the asylum system, whether we want to or not, and whether we want to be shelling out potentially tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of pounds on you at the end of the day. We're paying for you in hotels, probably paying for your solicitors, paying for food. If you need NHS treatment, all these types of things, it's not cheap at the end of the day. So it brings you back to the fundamental question. Is the Democrat right? And in my opinion, he's not. His argument is fundamentally flawed. Because to what degree do you allow people, even if they're only committing minor crimes, say for instance shoplifting or something, you can't allow that to happen. You break up the law, there should be no reason why somebody comes to your country and is allowed to do that. End of story. No, doesn't matter if it's a violent crime or not. They broke the law, they should be arrested and they should be deported. Now I know that there are going to be some lefties out there going to argue the case saying, oh no, they're all welcome. Well, probably the majority of the population of the UK, probably the majority of the population of France, Germany, Spain, Italy, Greece, okay, where else can we go? America, are going to fundamentally disagree with you. I'm sorry, but that's reality at the end of the day. So then it boils down to the question, what can be done? And I've done loads of these videos on another channel, which is Borderlines Global. So if you want to go and see some of them videos, you're more than welcome. So when you take the argument, what can actually be done? And, I've come up with a few theories over the years because I don't buy into the Nigel Farage argument saying, oh, we'll put the Navy in the middle of the English Channel. Well, I know people that worked for Border Force in the past. I've had dealings with the Home Office. And as people tell me, and I live in a naval town as well, I've been told by a lot of people where they have said the Royal Navy will not get involved in this under any circumstances unless they're ordered to. That is the only way that they get involved in it. Okay, because their argument, and it's their argument, okay, it's not an invasion. Now, I know a lot of people out there are going to say, yeah, but it is an invasion. You can probably argue that. But a bigger invasion would be legal migration rather than illegal migration. Okay, go and take a look at numbers for legal migration compared to what illegal migration has been over the last 10 years. Legal migration absolutely dwarfs it. But we're going astray. So the reality is, what can realistically happen? So you've got to get away from that idea. It's not realistic. Okay, so I end up two ideas which are realistic, because I tend to think of myself as a realist, and what can realistically be done, which can be done quickly and easily, and actually potentially resolve the actual problem we've got. The first idea that I came up with, and I came up with this idea about 18 months ago, is consulates. We've got consulates all around the world. Why can't it be a case that, let's say, for instance, somebody's in Afghanistan. Now, I assume we've got a consulate in Afghanistan, and if they want to leave Afghanistan, rather than having to walk all the way out from Afghanistan, probably through Syria and into Egypt, and then probably having to get on a boat somewhere around North Africa, okay, then having to get on that boat to cross the Mediterranean, probably to France, Italy, Spain, one of them countries. Let's say, for instance, they go to France, so they can be on the southern coast of France. Then they're going to have to walk, because they're not really going to have any money unless they're going to illegally get on a train, okay, and go all the way from southern France all the way up to northern France. Or they're going to have to walk it. That's one hell of a long bloody walk. Might get some nice scenery. Might be going to do a spot fishing. Maybe I'll join them for the fishing. So that's what they're going to face having to do. Realistically, that's not an ideal solution. So wouldn't it be safer if consulates were actually able to process people in their country? If they want to leave, okay, and they've actually got some form of grounds, why couldn't something like that happen? Because the problem is, at the moment, to be able to apply for asylum, you've got to come to British territory, which basically means England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, okay, or one of our foreign territories, okay, somewhere else in the world. Okay, that's what you've got to do. Okay, you can't just do it in your home country. So that's one option. Second option, which is going a bit more extreme, which I know has been done a little bit, but not as extreme as this theory. Now, a lot of people complain about the price of hotels and so many people being put in hotels. Okay, and then at the end of the Conservative government, okay, they opened up some, I think they were Air Force barracks, and put people in them. Okay, so this is the idea, is you go and take some form of barracks, disused ones at the end of the day, okay, refurbish them, do them up, and take everybody that's in a hotel, and this theory is also scared the shit out of people, so they're not actually coming to the country illegally, put them into there and put them on lockdown. Not being given any more money or anything, okay? You do it as a prison, because at the end of the day, they've broken the law, okay? So you put them in there. They're on lockdown. They're treated as criminals, as any other criminal should be treated. Okay, what is it? An hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever exercise they're entitled to. And they stay in there. They don't get the liberty of walking around the village or the town, walking through the parks and all this type of stuff. Maybe having a few beers in the park, with the youngsters and everything. I'm going to leave it there because we all know about the case what happened not too long ago. So be careful what I say. None of that happens. They stay in there. Now, obviously, there are problems with prisons up and down the UK. Now, what you do, who's going to man them? And I know everybody's going to say that. Now, when I came up with this idea, I said to get the military in. And I put it on, I think it was TikTok I put it on. Everybody went mad at me saying, bloody prison service won't be able to do it. They can't manage to do what they're doing at the moment. I said, why not get ex-service personnel? There's plenty of them out there that are struggling for work at the moment. Get them in and get them to actually run it. Okay. And then you get the Home Office to properly do it because you know exactly where they are, and you get them on these actual bases, actually putting these people through quickly rather than the 6 months it currently takes, 6 to 9 months anyway. So that was my second theory of what could be done. Me personally, I would go with the second theory, and I know there's other people who would say put them on a boat in the middle of the English Channel. With the amount of illegals we've got in the country at the moment, imagine how many boats we're going to actually need. Quite a few boats, to be honest. Okay, and then obviously I know other people have said fly them to one of our islands in the middle of the Atlantic and get them to build a home. I don't think that's really realistic, to be honest. It's costing us more money to fly them out there. Then we're going to have to set it up properly so they've at least got an opportunity to create a life for themselves on one of these islands in the middle of the Atlantic. Can't see it happening, really. It's not really realistic. I understand why they're doing it or saying it because they're angry, and I don't blame them. But my theory is the second one. I think that's the best option and the most realistic option because I don't think the offices around the world would actually do it. You know, that would normally be my first choice. But I think the second choice of opening military barracks up, ones which have been deserted and we're not using, and basically turning them into prisons, so to speak, is probably the best option. So let us know what you think. But for now, thanks for watching, and we'll speak to you again a bit later.